Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's call this 4 p.m. work session to order, please. City council members, would you like to introduce yourself to the members of the board?
I'm Debbie Turner, City Council.
Rob Wright, City Council.
I'm Steve Wilson, Community Development Director.
Super. Thank you. Welcome.
So I'll introduce Rochelle Meyer from COSA, which is our coalition of Oregon School Administrators, coalition of Oregon School Administrators. And she is going to help facilitate the next couple days of education planning for us in the district and data collection. I'm not going to take too much explanation away from what she's going to do, that I want her to be able to have a good hour of time with you and with our city council. We felt that having a meeting of some of the two biggest decision-making groups in our town together, talking about what will eventually become work that this board does to develop long-term goals for our school and our district to grow. So knowing what the other groups are thinking and doing is saying is going to be important for us, along with all the work we're going to do and the data we're going to collect from Rochelle's visit here with us over the next couple of days. So this is the start of something big. There's a lot of work coming, and working together with the city, I think it's going to be important for us because we do affect so many of our community members and the decisions that we make. So, Dr. Rochelle Myers.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me into the space today. And we've been planning probably since August just to get us here today. And so I think it's helpful to know how I'm showing up today and a little bit about me so you know who I am. So I've been a longtime educator. All of my career has been spent in Oregon. I live in Eastern Oregon. Clear over, I was telling Terry when he and I visited, way east in Ontario. And so all of my experience as a teacher, as an administrator, as a parent, has all been in rural Eastern Oregon in small districts. And so my first teaching assignment was in a little tiny K-8 on the John Day Highway outside of Vail, Oregon, called Willow Creek, and I taught 7th and 8th grade combined, self-contained, all subjects, plus 5th grade science. So, so I totally understand the landscape of small schools, but more importantly, how small schools really are the center of communities, much like Reedsport. And while I haven't taught in Reedsport, certainly the challenges and uniqueness that Reedsport holds as a small school is very similar to my experiences as an administrator in small districts across the state. All small districts, all rural support, and then I moved to the Department of Education following a principalship and a superintendency. Moved to the Oregon Department of Education and stood up a program that supports all small districts across the state. So helping the agency understand that it's very difficult on our superintendents who have multiple roles and the ways in which ODE can support those districts by alleviating some administrative burden. So that was my role. And then just recently, I moved to the Coalition of Oregon School Administrators. So we're an organization that supports all of Oregon's administrators from superintendent, central office, principals, and assistant principals. So I still do that work supporting small districts. It's really a passion of mine and something that is really important to me, that ensure that we lift up the rural voices in the state. And so I first met John in my role at ODE, and we were in a superintendent meeting, South Coast ESD, and I actually took his sandwich and ate it you know, my job was to get out and be in schools across the state. And so I brought our agency director with us, and we stopped in for a visit at the junior, senior high school and did a tour. And so, anyway, I do have, you know, I don't live here, but certainly Reedsport has become one of the schools that, you know, I really care about. I care about the community, I care about students. So that's how I'm showing up. So, strategic planning, it's like, does not sound fun. We need to like invite a new term other than strategic planning. But what's exciting about strategic planning is for leaders in the community, like city council, with leaders of the district and the board, with students and staff, coming together to really identify what's really great about Reedsport and what do we vision for aspirations and results in 5 years. So part of strategic planning is it's really important for the board and city council and other community leaders to come together, because you all are often working on things that really impact the school, and the school is working on things that impact you all as city council. So coming together to drive results for students and community is really what this portion of the strategic planning is all about. So part of the process is tonight we're going to walk through a framework that I use. It's called the SOAR framework, SOAR, and that is strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. And so together we're going to talk about these things tonight, and in that we're going to develop. So once I get all the data from these few days that I'm doing, you know, this type of workshop and listening sessions across the district, then I'm coming back to the school board, I believe in November, and I'll be able to bring data for you, like physical data, like, hey, here are the, you know, results of you know, test scores, attendance, things like that kind of data. But then the real qualitative data, what, you know, what students are saying, what staff are saying, what community is saying. And so John's done a really nice job of setting up multiple opportunities for engagement so that it's really authentic. It's not just like, hey, we're doing strategic planning, let's gather some people really quick and get some information and then bring it to you and be like, hey, we did strategic planning. That's not this. And so the board's really driving this process. You all are the ones that approve the strategic plan. So it's really critical that you weigh in and that you feel like you had a voice, because you're the drivers of this. You're the ones that are going to help develop it. You lead this, and I support you. So that's kind of my role, is to facilitate the discussion. So that's the first part. The second part is after I come to you with the data, then we work together to create goals out of, so I'll bring you like, here's some common themes across all of the conversations that have been had. And then from those things, we identify goals. So what would be really great from the city council is, like, what kinds of things are you all working on? Because that is really, we need to marry those two things together. So I'm probably going to be in contact asking, like, you all have a strategic plan, or what are your goals that you're working on, so that those pieces of data come in as well. So that's where we're at. This is a long process. This is like the first engagement piece. I come back with data, and then we create goals, and then I come with a draft strategic plan that we look at, we edit, we get feedback, and then you essentially then will have an action item to adopt the strategic plan, and that's your goals for the next essentially 5 years. This is what you're working towards. So that a good explainer. Any questions, curiosities for me? Not yet. All right, Robert. Well, I'm always open. I was just down with the high school students. They were the first engagement, and the staff were really worried about me. You know, they were worried for me need to worry about me. And, anyway, they did great. They were engaged and they were just a delight. And in fact, they were like, "Are you coming back?" I was like, "Oh, wow, we can capitalize on this. What else do we need to do?" So, they were really amazing. So anyway, just appreciate the opportunity to serve. All right, so with that, Tosh has done a phenomenal job of making sure that I know how to use the tech here. So let's try this out. All right.
Yep, we got it.
Tosh, you're amazing. All right. So we're going to try this out. And I also have notes to do, physical notes as well. I'm hoping to capture a lot of your feedback in the survey, so then it's just easier for me to analyze. So this just gives a little welcome, just as you as community leaders, it's essential in shaping the future of our schools. We talked about the SOAR framework, strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results, and help us identifying what Reedsport does well, where we can improve, and the vision for outcomes we want to achieve together. We want to make sure that the input is constructive, respectful, and future focused, because we're not talking about the right now, we're talking about, our 5-year visioning. And so we want to make sure that this is a space for elevating ideas and not complaints or personal concerns. We want to make sure that this is used to drive the district's direction for the next several years. So we just appreciate your leadership and perspective. So with that, let's see here. Okay, Tosh, this is where we're gonna, okay, that's good. Okay.
There you go.
This is the first question. This is really around what strengths in Reedsport schools should we prioritize and protect. So that's where we get to engage here. I'm going to take some notes and just invite you in to have a discussion with me. So what strengths in Reedsport schools should we prioritize and protect?
Education, reading, writing, arithmetic.
Communication with students and families and administration.
I'm sorry, communication to?
Yes, with students, staff, administration, community. Students. Is that? And students. And students, yes.
Thank you. So you're saying communication to staff is a strength that we need to prioritize, correct?
Is that a strength, John?
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And you're gonna see me sitting here quietly a lot,
Yeah.
because this isn't my engagement session right now, so.
Yep.
I'll help facilitate pieces if
Okay.
I'm gonna try to sit quietly.
So if you think about, maybe I can support a little bit. If you think about you as board members and you as city council, thinking about what strengths do you know to be true in Reedsport? Let's start there. Let's just start, what are some of the strengths of Reedsport schools?
Community involvement, I think, is a good strength.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, should we prioritize that?
absolutely.
Okay, perfect, community involvement, great. Excellent. Okay, what's another strength?
I'd say pride. If you're in this community during graduation and see the amount of money raised locally for scholarships for our seniors, and also in been using it throughout the school year, whether it be athletics, whether it be scholastics, whether it be academics. I mean, the community comes up in a big, big way and supports the students in the school district. So I'd say pride.
Thank you for that.
Academics,
Tell me more, can you say more about academics as
um,
a strength?
as far as just making sure that our school is, I mean, I think it plays an important role in the staff, in the students that we have. A lot of them, I believe, they don't just come to school just to educate, right? They come to school to play sports, and I think that keeps a lot of the kids within our school district.
So,
Within school, not just so much the school district, but.
like extracurricular
Yes,
is a strength.
yes.
Okay. So opportunities outside of the school day is a strength of the sport.
Yeah, I think yes, it's academics, it's sports, I mean, not just sports, but there's the, like the shop, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think the kids, especially the high school, right, because the younger ones don't get that like the older ones do, but I think in the elementary, the kids are looking towards that later. Hey, I'm gonna get to play football, or I'm gonna get to play volleyball, and I wanna make sure that I keep my, I think it helps students that are in sports to keep going on their schoolwork. I think it gives them something to drive for, not just sitting in class every day.
Okay.
I think the pride you could add, because of the pride, I mean, a lot of the students that graduate here, we have a tremendous amount of kids go off to college and stuff, but a lot of them come back, and some of the kids never even leave. I mean, and they're business owners themselves already, and they stay in the community and start a business here. As the business gets more successful, they start a family, and those kids then get back into our school system. And I mean, it's just amazing at how many of the kids will, even though people complain about, oh, there's no jobs, there's no living wage jobs and stuff, but the kids are resilient. They make it work, and you see them in our grocery stores, in our stores, in our public events. We have a young man that graduated here, went away for a while, come back, started his own business, tree trimming business and stuff. And and we count on him to decorate the community Christmas tree. He donates that time and his crew and stuff, and is always helping things like that. Bonnie's son's a good example. He took over the family business and is growing it by leaps and bounds. And I mean, he can't hardly get a day off. So I mean, and there's just so many more. Kyle Barnes the same way. He didn't need to go anywhere. He learned what he needed to learn, started his own business, and very successful in our community. And again, it's things that people, if you were in Coos Bay or Eugene or Portland, people wouldn't recognize that. They wouldn't notice that. It wouldn't be to them, and and it won't be long. I mean, once these kids get established in their businesses and their family lives and stuff, they're going to become members of our city government, our county government, our school district, and so it works out in a very positive way. And that's what we need to we need to feed that to help that continue, so that our community can thrive.
And a lot of our students who come back as educators to our very district.
I think we have a couple who, if they don't even live here, they come back, like Rob Crocker being one of them, graduating from Reedsport, he's back just to try to help make the town what it was.
Yeah, what it was when he was here.
Yeah, fixing up a lot of different buildings and trying to bring different jobs.
Yeah, that is definitely a strength, right? Yeah.
You're also soliciting from the taxpayer as well, right?
Yep,
They have
yep,
ideas.
yep. I was just gonna move to you all. You're out in the community, you're in leadership. what do you think is a strength of the Reedsport schools?
I have to agree with what everybody said. The only thing I ever hear is the negative stuff, so.
That's too bad.
We're talking positive stuff,
Yeah.
but they're all more involved in it than I am with the school.
As a returning student of Reedsport, after 30 years, I can tell you what the draw was in the memories from the school was the dedication of people to us. And you don't see that, elsewhere in the world, that there is a true dedication, as Carrie has, spoke to. You guys have been dedicated to see us come home. And so opportunities have arisen for us to come home, come back and serve the community that we remembered, 30 years ago. And that's very powerful.
Thank you for that. That is powerful. Thank you for sharing.
And I think a lot of the older people that have lived here for many, many years really do support Reedsport in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And they think of Reedsport very positively.
And like Carrie was saying, I think it's very historically important, the heritage that people have for being here and being from Reedsport. They may go away for a short amount of time, 25, 30 years, but they make it back, and always be, like they say, my heart is always in Reedsport. So I think that's important, and we get that because of what's gone on with the way the community. You go to any athletic event, and it's full, and people will follow it to wherever they're going for an away event. It is amazing the support. Being a volleyball official, I see it. I can go down to Bandon to do a volleyball game, and it's almost the same amount of people in the stands from Reedsport as they are here in town. They'll follow them down there. That's impressive.
There's parades, if we make it to state,
Yeah.
here in Cyrus,
Parades.
going all the way out.
Absolutely.
Would it be accurate to say that you all, like a strength is that, like, this school kind of is the community? It is where folks come to gather to.
It's a very big part of it, yes.
Oh, it looks like I'm going. I am. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Tosh. Tosh taking care of me.
I just don't want all this work to go away.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you so much. All right. So where have we made progress that should be sustained? So going off of the strengths that you identified, where have you seen from before to now, in your own perspectives, where you've seen progress and you want that to continue? You don't want to lose sight of that.
Grades have improved.
Say it again.
Grades have improved.
Like student grades?
Student grades.
Okay.
First and foremost, the man sitting right there to your left. John's been our superintendent longer than I can remember. I've been on the board a couple of different times, and one term of being on the school board, we went through 4 superintendents in less than a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And the stability that John brings, and the knowledge and the cooperation throughout the whole state, it's helping us so much.
Yeah.
So that, and people don't have to worry about, some folks don't take change very well, but, in order to move us along in this process, we have to make some hard decisions.
Yeah.
And, from what it was in the past to what it is now, those decisions are paying off. And just like Bob said, our grades are going up. We're having staff that sticks around. We don't have to be worried about filling 10 money we get, we know it's gonna be put to good use. And I was on the board when we went after the bond that we're currently paying back to improve our schools, our buildings and stuff. And it was, I mean, we, two teachers are no longer with us and a community member, but we were beating the streets, knocking on doors, trying to get people to, you know, inform them so that we could get this bond passed. And there was such a huge influx, people that were moving to the area here to retire, that didn't have any kids in the school, they didn't want any added taxes, and they didn't, you know, they didn't know anything about Reedsport schools.
Yeah.
And so we spent half of our time going, you know, explaining to them, or inviting them to a board, or inviting them to a school event, or, you know, just educating them on, you know, what our little school district's all about and what we're doing for our kids. And you know, third time was it. I mean, we got the bond passed real easily on the third time after we did all this work and the legwork and stuff and presented that. So, I just don't think that we would have that problem with what, you know, what we have in the district office right now and the people we have in our buildings. I think it'd be a lot easier to, you know, and I, you know, like what we're doing here right now, the strategic planning, I mean, I think it's gonna pay huge dividends, both for our city and our community and our school district. So, you know, we have classes now in our schools for medical terminology and they're, you know, taking kids up to the hospital and giving them class time to, you know, invest or investigate what would be like to work in the health district or in the health, you know, occupations. Same way with, you know, what's going on. We have students that are, you know, on the volunteer fire department, you know, that have aspirations to become a professional firefighter. We had, I don't know if they still do, because we have a new police chief. You know, we used to have a cadet program in the police department where the kids could go down there and if they could pass the background and, you know, stay out of trouble, we did a cadet program and to see if they would like to, you know, we hired, I spent 21 years at Reedsport Police Department. In my 21 years, we hired 3 police officers that went through our cadet program that were graduates of Reedsport. So it paid dividends, you know, if you stop to think about it.
Yeah, I appreciate you naming the stability of the leadership in a school, because you can't drive student outcomes when you have a constant change of leadership and superintendents, and we're seeing a lot of that instability across Oregon. Well, it's actually nationally, and it just makes it hard to do this kind of work. So you all are very fortunate to have a long time superintendent. So, council folks, what things have you noticed about the school, just from your perspective, kind of outside of the school? What have you noticed as progress, or you're a former graduate? What kinds of things have you noticed that Reedsport has progressed in from the external side?
You know, you know, in a year's time, I've seen that, you know, there's a good level of sustaining, you know, some of the features that we had in the past, and that ties into the sports activities. That is still a priority within the community, and it is you know, it's kind of a glue that, you know, connected the community back when I went to school here as well as it does now. That's a strength. In regards to, you know, progress since I was here, you know, I can say I believe I was here probably at the best the schools could have ever been. You know, it was a great time in the 1980s and 90s. There was a lot of prosperity here at that window. We had a lot of opportunity. We had a fantastic music program. We had incredible shops where we could, you know, learn our automotive and our woodworking. That, you know, built all of the secondary opportunities within our careers, you know, that we took from the high school here. So, you know, those things, I see kind of that there's been a step back, there's kind of been a loss of that. And, you know, I'd love to see that come back. I mean, that was really a strength.
So I'd like you to add that when we get to the aspirations. I think that's a really great piece of that.
I didn't get a chance to say it, but I'm also a Reedsport graduate. We graduated the same year and went away and moved back. My wife and I, both as Reedsport graduates, we run a business here in town that I feel is relatively successful, but I would agree with Steve about the stability of the school. It's sad to not see things like the shop programs and things like that, but over the last 5 years, what I have seen is the stability of the staff. There's been a consistent staff, know them by name, we recognize each other, and I think for the students, that's a huge boost for them to not have instability, not having the same teachers week in, week out, or teachers there this week and then they're gone for 2 months and then come back, but seeing that stability and not seeing some of the things that we had in the 90s, but I see growth, I see the school building up, rebuilding, because the student population is nothing like it was back then. So to see some type of growth and some types of the stability, that's a huge thing with the school.
I appreciate you sharing, and thanks for naming that you're also a alumni.
Yes, thank you.
It's important.
As well as a city council member.
Yes.
Giving back to your community. Thank you.
Yeah, I had that in my mind, was stating that returning students to take on positions of whether it be city planning or city council, mayor, someday maybe, I don't know. But those are important.
What's on the record today, so there you go.
But Rob, you first.
Well, and Cindy and Kim are both good examples, you know, here they are on part of our school board now, and they're graduates from Reedsport, and they, you know, have their families and they're still here in Reedsport, and they both work for the city of Reedsport, so they've done well and represent our community pretty good, so.
Yep. Yeah, we moved here in '87, my son was 3, and now his kids are gonna be graduating, they're juniors and seniors this year. So he stayed here because, you know, it's home. Yeah, Reedsport's home.
Thank you.
We were talking about here, when my first involvement with Reedsport School District was back in the mid-'80s. I was an Air Force recruiter down here, and I met with the school quite a bit at that time. And they were quite receptive of me being in here and offering something other than what was currently being offered. But you're right, that school was huge at the time. You know, it was a good, one of my larger schools in the area. And then things just kind of went poof, you know, and it was a mass exodus of people out of town with their kids, and we watched the attendance just drop like a rock, and it got down to it was a ghost of what it used to be, and what was being offered was minimal just to get through the day. But now I've seen some things coming back, like you're saying, you know, people looking into medical career fields and EMTs and firemen, and I wish we had a cadet program at the PD. We do not right now. I'm the chaplain down there right now. We don't have one down there. It'd be great if there was one there. But we do have a student council member on our council, as a student counselor.
Great.
But I'm encouraged to see those kind of things come back and come more involved. So that's been recent in the last 5 years, I think, for me, watching from the outside.
I appreciate what you're naming as like this merging of like city council with the schools coming together to support students. Like that's what I hear you say.
Absolutely.
Well, I think local restaurants also, they hire an awful lot of the students to work in their establishments.
Or local businesses. businesses are great at giving back too for donations, raffles, what our school needs. And partly probably because we have some that have been Reesport graduates.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to skip this one. This is so I created the survey as if you each would take it, so you all are going to have the opportunity to take it as well if you wish, but that is this question. So I'm just gonna click it. Just because I'm taking it here for us. Okay, moving along. Where do you see the greatest amount of opportunities for the districts to grow and innovate? So this is where we get to talk about, like, where do you see these opportunities for Reedsport schools, given the context that you named, for Reedsport to grow or to innovate? So I'm ready to type. And you can take things that you hear in the community and frame those as like, here's an opportunity for Reedsport to grow.
I think the biggest one is communication. I don't think the schools really explaining to the parents of what's actually going on a day-to-day basis. That's what I hear all the time. And is it because the parents don't want to hear it? Or is it because the school's just not explaining it to them? I think we need to be more transparent.
Okay. Can you tell me more about that?
Just in what we're doing as a board and as a school district. The community doesn't, I mean, I hear probably the same thing Debbie does, the community doesn't know sometimes what's even going on. They'll say, well, what happened to this, or how come we didn't hear about this, or how come we didn't hear about that? And so then what happens is within the community, then people are thinking that, well, you're trying to hide something from me. No, we're not. So I guess it probably falls under a lot of communication, also transparency, all under communication part of it, just to make people more aware in our community what is going on.
Well, not having a newspaper or radio station anymore.
Makes it hard.
Makes it very difficult. You know, I mean, we're live streamed all the time for all the meetings.
Right.
You know, and it's published as much as we can get published to let people know that we're having a meeting. Here's the link, chime in, watch, post comments, come in and see us, that kind of thing. So that communication is a huge piece that I think both sides on all areas across the town need to take into consideration and make an effort.
Because I think if it's not communicated, then people start doing the rumors of what I think they're doing instead of what they really are doing. And then everybody gets very negative on the school.
Sure.
Well, and I believe that part of that, I mean, the parents are to blame, you know, and the family dynamics aren't there as they used to be. I mean, we had an hour and a half bus ride to get home from school. We had chores to do there, and when mom rang the dinner bell or yelled for us to come into dinner, you know, our parents knew everything to the point where dad would finally say, shut up and eat so we can, you know, but you know, that kind of stuff's not getting passed around at the dinner table where most of that, you know, dialogue happened. And so, but parents nowadays don't take that responsibility. You know, I would ask my son every day.
Yeah.
You know, I was a police officer in Reedsport. His mom worked for Coos Bay Police Department. We let our son go to North Bend so he wouldn't get hassled. And every day I would say, hey, Bo, what happened at North Bend today? How was school? What'd you learn?
It was okay. Nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you would, you know, it'd be over there with a pair of tweezers or pliers, you know, pulling stuff out of him so you could know what's going on and that there wouldn't be any surprises. But, and like Bonnie said, you know, we had newspapers, we had radio stations.
Yeah.
You know, and if there, you read that and there was a question come up, you know, you could refer to that, and then you could call up and say, hey, you know, are you gonna discuss it at a board meeting, are you gonna discuss this at a city council meeting? And, you know, then I'd make a point to go there so I could get those answers, or ask more questions, or that type of thing. So, you know, sometimes the city council and the school district, and even the hospital board, kind of take it to short sometimes, because, you know, there's not, these people don't want to know, or they're too lazy to find out, and there's no way, you know, so they just, like Deb said, start rumors, you know, and it's not that we're not being transparent, it's just that they don't have the desire to go ask those questions or find that out. And I don't think it's the city councils or the school districts or the hospital board's job to, you know, make an effort to tell the world what we do, what happens every day in their different organizations. I think if you want to know, then you should be, you know, find out, put the gamer down, or put your beer down, or, you know, and go ask those questions and get those answers.
I have a slightly different opinion on that. Before technology, I mean, kids would get sent home with papers, right? You knew what events were happening, if there was something at the school afterwards, what was coming up, changes. My 16-year-old son's not gonna tell me there's different policies happening. So I will say the school has gotten better to robo-emails, robo-calls. How hard is it to send out hey, we're having this meeting? So, I mean, I think I'm a pretty active parent, and some things I didn't know or hear about. So I think the school could do more as far as that part. Like, I think we could take some of the responsibility as far as sending out a robo message for things that are happening that we feel that's important. Because I ask my kid all the time, I attend all of his sports events, but he's not gonna tell me that background stuff. Like, I mean, so I do the best that I can, but sometimes these are hard to find what's happening without, you know, having any other input to let me know. But things have gotten, I mean, we've gotten a lot of, I've got, as a parent, emails for these things that were happening too. So I think it has gotten better, but I think we have to take some responsibility for this, send information out to parents.
And if there is something on Facebook that's up here, by the time you're reading down here, it's a whole different subject and it's all negative. And it had nothing to do with the original post.
Yeah.
No.
The original post shows up 2 days after it happens.
Yeah, that's another problem when trying to rely on social media for updates or something.
The beautiful thing about where I get to sit is I get to hear all the things and then try to synthesize. I'm curious, I just want to go back to your original statement around transparency and hearing what everyone said. And it feels to me like there probably is transparency, but perhaps the way that information's communicated out, it sounds like we're using, you know, email and text messages, and like those are all really good avenues. We're using Facebook. It sounds like, oh, could there be another way to communicate out in addition to the things we're already doing? Because, you know, I'm hearing multiple avenues. You can come to a board meeting, you get text messages as a parent, you get emails as a parent, there's social media. So I'm curious then, is it the type of information, or is it you want another form of a way to communicate out? Because I'm not hearing in this conversation there's a lack of transparency. What I hear is that there needs to be a broader net cast. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Sometimes I think we need to do a little bit of old school too. You know, I can remember in years past where there were folders to send out to kids, folders, and there were these information.
Sign up on them and.
The informational pieces would go home, and if you had siblings, there was one of the siblings was like the main sibling, so you're not sending papers home every kid in the family, but one hopefully responsible child in the family to give that folder home for parents to. But the flip side of that is, are the parents looking at the folders? But sometimes I think that paper, having that paper in front of you is something to consider also.
Yeah, and I know there's gonna be people who don't look at those, but I mean, I read through that folder, I signed off to say I got that kind of stuff. So,
Yes, exactly.
and I miss that, I miss having that to see. But, emails are great, but I guess on that other side, as I get that information as a parent, necessarily out in the community, I don't, without newspapers, or if not everybody is social media, I don't know necessarily how that information is getting out, because word of mouth, I guess, from it, but.
I think it could be different between parents and their kids in school than it does for us on the council. We get people coming in every month. We have a time for them to get up there for 5 minutes and voice whatever they want, positive or negative. Almost 99% of the time they're negative.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But unfortunately, like you guys sitting up here, you guys can interact with us right now, which is wonderful. But in a council meeting, we sit there and listen to them. Say, thank you, your time is up, next. And that just started bothering me. So I put out there on Facebook, a couple of different places, hey, I'll be down at Jackson's Cafe Saturday morning from 10 till whenever anybody leaves. You want answers? Come on down and talk to me. I'll tell you what's going on face to face. You have a problem with the hydrants, you have a problem with whatever. I'll tell you what we're doing about that. We're not going to do it. It's not an open forum. It's not a city council. It's not anyway. 3 people have showed up in 3 weeks, and 2 of them work for the city. They don't want to know. They just want to complain. Now, I think hopefully the parents are a little more involved in that, but sometimes I think people just want to complain.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. What changes in policy, practice, or resources could improve outcomes for students, in your opinion? Heavy question, huh?
In lieu of the state.
Well, right.
Right?
I mean, yeah,
that's-
we're bound by.
That's a loaded question.
It really is, but you as a board one of your charges is, policy, right? And so, are there, policies, maybe in the handbook or in, your own board policies that, that could improve, outcomes for students, or like the resourcing of the dollars that you do receive? Yeah.
Let me ask a question. Is there any kind of a reward program for kids who are exhibiting good behavior and improving and moving their grades up, moving their attitudes up, becoming more productive members of society?
They get notified noticed every month.
Do they?
Superintendent, the teachers, there's nothing,
Okay.
But, is it a monetary thing? No.
No.
There's different organizations also that give out awards and prizes for things like attendance or good.
So part of positive encouragement
Yeah.
for doing stuff like
Yeah.
that, which I want to continue to do more and more of that. Let me explain to you why. I'm a volleyball referee. I've been doing this for years now. And what I do now is I have those, remember those coins, dollar gold coins we have? That's what I use my flip coin when I do the very first start of a match, head and tails, who's going to get the serve. I use that gold coin. What I started doing this year was, I take that gold coin when I'm done with the flip, I put it in one of the cases, you put a coin in, it's got a ball chain on it, so it turns it into like a medal. Now, all the way through the match, I'm watching both teams, and I'm watching all the players for various different violations of the rules and whatnot, but I'm also looking for attitude. I'm looking for somebody who's got a positive attitude, who's working hard, no matter what happens. They may make a mistake, but they laugh at it or they press on. One of their teammates makes a mistake. That's okay, we got this, come on, man. I'm looking for the attitude because an MVP, what's it gonna do for them? Not much. But an MVA, is what I call it, most valuable attitude. It's going to get them through school, it's going to get them through their jobs, it's going to get them through a marriage, it's going to get them through life. And so at the end, when the teams break, they always go to the net and shake hands. I'll grab the coach of the individual that I have identified as the MVA and say, Coach, I need the 30 seconds to talk to your kids. And I tell them, this is, I have a coin that I use to flip, and I ask the team captain, it's a gold coin, yeah, it's nice. Then I bring it out, and it's hanging there, a little metal, and I explain to them, I'm looking for the MVA, most valuable attitude, and then talk a little bit longer, kind of like I did with you. Then I award it to the young lady that I felt deserved it. They go berserk for that. They love it. Here's the deal. I've been doing this for about 5 years. I go back to these schools now, and they know I'm kind of recognizable. They know that I do this. Their attitudes have gone through the roof as far as being up here good. When they used to net with each other and they get nasty with each other, it's like, oh no, because Rob's up there and he's going to be looking for an MVA, so I'm gonna buck up and do what I'm supposed to do. So, please continue that. It makes a difference.
Well, sometimes being the best at a sport is not always the most important thing.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
Very few of them are going to make it onto anywhere of a college or even not alone as Division I, just any college. It's not going to do much for you. Look at our own lives and how many of our athlete, the jocks that were what did they do with it? Most of them, nothing. But the people who had great attitudes in your school when you were in high school and always were productive and always were positive with each other, they've started businesses, they started lives, they started, community involvement there, involved in politics or whatever. It's much more important than MVP. So.
I think we do have our teachers, I've gotten phone calls for the good behavior, you always expect the bad, right? But hey, we really appreciate that, they're on, task and helping others. So I think there is some of that still that does go, and it of course makes a difference because you want to be a good kid and get that call home on the good.
It makes a difference.
I think that still kind of happens.
Why should I behave myself if it doesn't make any difference?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think the superintendent awards do that. That's what they, they're just not on grades. Matter of fact, all the ones that I've heard, I don't think are even on grades. It's just
Attitude.
good attitudes and
Great.
helping others and.
Keep it up.
I would say that my daughter, as a recipient of that award, really brought her in her senior year. Actually, she got it her sophomore year and her senior year. And I think that gave her the ability and stamina to rise above any of the negatives that seem to follow us around sometimes. They see that, oh, this person's doing good, and someone's going to try to bring you down. But for her, it always brought her to a higher level, I felt.
All right.
So keep doing it.
We're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
Got it in. Okay. I'm noticing, time, and, we have 4 more questions to get through, and I want to get you out here so that you have a break. So, what is your long-term vision for Reedsport School as a board leader? And again, you're gonna be able to take this survey on your own as well, but I do want to capture the group. But what is your long-term vision for Reedsport Schools as a board leader and as a community leader?
Continuing enrollment,
That was good.
Yeah.
improved.
So I also think it's a shame that we have our local kids here that go to other schools outside of our area.
Well, why is it? Right? You gotta ask yourself, why is it?
I mean, those for the, sorry, go
I'd
ahead.
like to see our community bring in more family homes, offering jobs for families
Wage.
and living wage jobs, exactly.
I mean, earlier somebody said about how it just plummeted, and I think once the mill closed,
Yeah, once the
it
mill
pretty much
closed,
just
yes.
went downhill and
Yes.
and
And
it's just
fishing went down, yeah.
logging went down, all that, that's
All
what this
logging.
family
Mhm.
survived on, was logging, fishing, and the mill, and
And for the first few years that I lived here, there was really nobody bringing in babies into this community. And then all of a sudden, we had a surge, and all those kids are right about 10 years old right now. It seemed like, you probably noticed it more in the grade school, where all of a sudden you had more kids in the grammar school than you have in the past. Not past, but for a little while, because it seemed like everybody I knew that was that age of having babies had babies.
Is the population of our school growing, the numbers? It's not.
No.
What do you hope the community will say about our schools in 5 to 10 years?
What do we hope or what do we
Yep.
think?
What do you hope the community will say about our schools in 5 to 10 years?
We produce good citizens.
I think it being as simple as, absolutely, I would send my kids there
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
other areas.
You still wanted to come home.
Well, and, you know, with homeschooling and computer schooling, and you don't even have to get dressed. You can spend all day at school in your bedroom in your jammies and get straight A's.
Yeah.
And so we need to, not just the school district or the school board, but everybody involved that wants to make this successful, we need to enlighten and inform the families that how important going to that school building is, how it's going to help you become the person that you want to be or that you should be, how it's going to help you navigate through, you know, you becoming an adult that's going to be successful, going to be able to, darn it, be able to, you know, intervene and in that success, and you know, and be able to look at a situation that you think is going to be a problem, but because of the fact that you went to a school, you know, and you learned, there was people there to help you how to navigate that problem and be successful at coming up with an answer to the problem. And you're not going to get that sitting in front of a computer at home. You know, I'm not a homeschool individual, and you know, when we were going through the situation with COVID, you know, we had to have kids in our school district that went to the bus stop and only got to get on their computer because there was a hotspot on the bus.
Yeah.
You know, and so when the rain's going sideways and, you know, and you've been in there for 45 minutes and the rain's now running down the county road and it's over your galoshes, that puts a damper on the rest of your day.
Sure does, Carrie. Sure does. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Okay, again. What concrete, so we're on the results part. This is where like all of these things are gonna be in our goals and like what we want to see. Like these are the actionable things that we are physically going to see. These are the results. So what are the concrete results should board and district leadership be accountable for? What kind of
National test
results?
scores going up.
I'm sorry?
National test scores going up.
national test scores?
Yeah.
Okay. So board members, what do you think you should be held accountable for? What are the results?
Helping create future leaders.
Informed students, so we have informed families. You know, like today, if you went up and asked somebody, you know, what's the school board, you know, student, what's the school board do, or what's the city council do? You'd be shocked at some of their answers.
Yeah.
So, you know, it'd be wonderful if we could get to the point, you know, at the end of, you know, and we ask that student, that same student, you know, a year later, 4 years after they're done with school, you know, what, oh, well, school board makes policy to help the school district run, or the city council looks at, you know, future projects and how to, you know, sustain, you know, the city budget and make things happen within the city so that everybody's, you know, prosperous and, you know, you don't, I mean, it's, when we had some teachers like, you know, Opry and Timchuck, you would get those answers, but anymore, I don't know, it's kind of scary, it's like, and you just cross your fingers if you're with somebody and say, oh, please, I hope there's only a limited amount of curse words in their answers. Please.
100% right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, or they flip over their phone and hit two buttons, they say, oh, I can tell you right now, here it is, it's on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably the majority of the answer, like students wise anyway, is, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
what does the school board do? What does the city council do? I don't know.
yeah.
They don't.
I don't know if it's measurable, but the ability for students to think critically.
Higher enrollment.
And keep our kids in without transferring out.
Make no assumptions.
Say more about that.
I'm sorry.
Say more.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed coming back to the community is there's a lot of assumptions made. One, how communication is dispersed within the community, who hears it, who gets it. A lot of things are assumed. And it's assumed that information because, you know, we've all been here forever. Bob knows, Joe knows, Tina knows. But the fact is, the rest of the community doesn't know. I've spent a lot of time trying to find information, and I work at the city. So we can't make assumptions on how that communication is getting out into the community to know what's going on at the schools. But that's a major strength. I mean, I used to know, you know, when we lived here 30-some years ago, every event that was going on at the school. There was no question, it was on a bulletin board somewhere. You could always find it. You knew what was going on at the city. You knew the integration between the city's programs to bring students from the schools into the city, from the, you know, the schools into international paper, you know, and other clubs and so forth that were in the community at that time. There were no assumptions made, you know, that there was a better train of communication that was occurring. And so I've noticed that there's a lot of things, well, I'll look at a Facebook ad for something going on, and they'll forget to tell you where it's at. Well, I don't know where this is. It sounds like a great event. I want to go spend $1 million at it today, but I don't know where the heck it's at. So just don't make assumptions.
And I think growing on what you just said too, it happens at the city all the time. You know, it's over there by Joe's house.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows Joe. Yeah, and they do it all the time, and I look, even Deanna does, and I look at her like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know, the big apple, the big
Right.
maple tree right there in the
Yeah,
corner before you turn
on
right
that yellow
down
house,
the road.
pray that they don't paint it.
The business that was here in the 1960s.
Yes.
Yeah, it's no longer here.
I don't know what the icebox is.
It's the Bumblebee Bell Red.
Yeah.
Down there where the food station is. Used to be.
Oh, gosh.
What kind of percentage of kids do we have that are dropping out of high school?
I have to get that looked up, Rob.
Like overall statewide or?
No,
Here.
We have more of a four-year completer number that we look at. And I'll have to get you sit down and kind of explain where I see fault with that metric. Because it doesn't measure probably the way that we think it does.
That would be something I'd love to see, that number decrease, you know, the kids make it all the way through.
Now, is your research going to be reaching out to Elton, for example? I'm in Rotary, so I'm involved in the interviews as well as the scholarship committee. And when you interview those kids in Elton, and we know we lose a lot of kids from Reedsport, and I firmly believe our kids should be educated in our community. Having whatever the reason is that they're choosing the other schools, we need to know why. We see really great kids in Elton. They should be our kids in Reedsport.
Right, right. Our kids in Elton better equipped than kids in Reedsport? No, right? Like,
They are more capable of a professional conversation with you than the kids. And I mean, there's a split. There's magic kids in the school. I've seen some of the most impressive kids I could have imagined, as well as the most unimpressive. You know, so with that said, why are we losing these others? What are they getting that's making them so much more leadership potential?
yeah, it's a good question to ask. I think it speaks to before where we identify that as like, you know, kids moving elsewhere and not being in Reedsport. That's a steady, you know, something to be studied for sure. We're gonna wrap up with this last question here, and then again, the board's gonna have the opportunity and city council to take the survey on your own as well. And I'm gonna leave the survey open for a little while, so you all have time to complete it if you wish. You're not required to by any means. But I do also cognizant of time and want you all to have a break. What measures of success will tell us we are on the right track?
Enrollment.
Completion.
Grades.
Yeah.
If we're just,
I didn't hear Cindy.
Test scores, going great.
if we're just using a broad number, if it's 80% completing, if in 5 years we're 85 to 90% completing, then that's positive progress. If it's 60 and it's 75, whatever the number is, but as long as it's a positive.
Going up.
I agree.
I'm curious, I hear enrollment, completion, increase, so grades, test scores, anything else? And Sharman, did you have any comments in the chat? I apologize, I did not ask that.
I don't see any comments.
Thank you, Tosh. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pause on this. I'll close this portion of the survey, and send it out to you all. We'll keep it open. I'll keep it open for another week or so. And, you know,
Sorry, you'll send an email?
yes. I'll probably send it from me to Sharman, and then Sharman will send it out. but it has my contact information, so if you need to reach out or clarify or anything like that, I'm happy to do that for you all. And I just appreciate the opportunity. They're good discussions to have, and I think the merging of the city with the board and the school is really, really critical as we frame out these goals for the strategic plan. So I know you all want a little bit.
Do you have any pull on maybe getting back a school superintendent for the state, taken away from the governor? You have any pull there?
We're still on the record right now?
No comment.
Yep.
Funny how that works.
Talk later. Yeah, just appreciate you all and thank you for your service. And, I think we all come here with, a student's first lens. And I just invite you, it's really easy to, when you are in positions such as the board and city council, you do hear a lot of the negative rhetoric. And I'm just, from a previous superintendent lens, just ask you to lean in on like, oh, can you tell me more about that? Can you maybe get some additional details and then go get information and try and kind of stop, folks, we need you in the community to be songbirds for the school as well. So anyway, with that, I think we can officially break for a break.
Thank you for the invite.